talk about how to extract maximum performance from emerging memory technologies from infrastructure providers' point of view. This work was done during internship of the first two authors. So, public and private cloud storage applications are important class of application that today's data centers serve. And these applications, they have resource needs that span across several dimensions. Growing data volume for this application pose huge capacity demand. Most of these applications are user-facing, so they require fast latency, not just average, but also at the tail percentile of request. And these applications, they have competing memory and storage needs because they access volatile, they have read and write accesses which are like volatile and persistent accesses. So this is complicated by the fact that cloud applications, they are diverse. For example, in the production storage traces that we have analyzed, we see that cloud storage is highly capacity intensive for writes than reads, and MapReduce and search indexing is primarily read intensive, whereas search serving is kind of intensive in both reads and writes. In addition to capacity needs, these applications, they could have different volume of data that they access for reads and writes, which directly impacts the tail latency of the application. It's not just differences that are across application, but even within the same application, if we take a look at how the data access evolve over time, we have x-axis, in the x-axis the time, and in the y-axis the access volume. We see that search serve, it begins with more 2x reads and writes initially, but as the time progresses, reads become like 3 to 4x more than write that the application undergoes. So what this shows is that applications are diverse, and the diversity spans several dimensions from resource point of view. So how do we effectively serve this application? And to answer that question, we need to understand how infrastructure actually looks like in today's data centers. So we have DRAM as the volatile resource and SSD as the persistent resource. And DRAM is low latency, it is byte addressable. On the other hand, SSDs offer persistency, but it incurs high latency. And DRAM is much costlier than SSD. So we have limited capacity DRAM in the data center, whereas we have higher capacity of SSD. And there is a huge gap across these dimensions between these two resources. So can emerging memory, the thing is, one of the major drawbacks of these resources are they are fixed, they are rigid in their characteristics, they are fixed in their functionality. One is a memory device and another is a storage device. They are fixed in their latency, which is determined by the technology characteristics. And they are fixed in their capacity as provided by the infrastructure configuration that the operator chooses. So given these huge differences and the rigidity of this resources, can we use emerging memory technologies to bridge this gap? For example, emerging memory technologies like battery-backed DRAM, 3D XPoint, they offer byte addressability, at the same time they offer persistency. And we can also incorporate fast memory compression using ASICs to provide larger and, more importantly, flexible latency and capacity. So we can essentially bridge the configuration space between these two resources. So the main question that we want to answer is, can we exploit these emerging memory technologies to overcome the drawbacks of existing hardware to serve diverse cloud applications? And people have thought about this problem before, and there are multiple ways of integrating these resources in data center. One way to do that is using persistent memory programming. And if we do that, we can tap into the byte addressability potential as well as the non-volatility potential. But the drawback is it requires application changes which may not be feasible at scale of data center, especially for public cloud, and also because production quality changes, they undergo rigorous testing, so they meet the quality of standards, so this is not immediately feasible at scale. And another way to integrate these devices is instead of modifying application, we can modify the file system to work with NVMs. In this way, we don't have to change the application. On the other hand, replacing SSDs entirely with NVMs, it's not feasible because of cost reason. NVMs are still orders of magnitude costlier than SSDs. Again, data center operators, they have to do changes to existing time-tested operating system and file system to push production quality changes. So this limits faster integration of these devices in data centers. Another way to integrate this device is to use this device as a cache for SSD. The cache could either be a read cache or it could be write cache. By read cache, I mean augmenting DRAM, so you will have more capacity for volatile accesses, or by write cache, I mean using it as a write cache for SSD, so all the file system writes and MSyncs gets buffered in this cache. So the advantage is it's a low cost solution. We don't have to replace entire fleet of SSDs with these costlier devices, and these are all transparent way of integrating it. But the thing is, they focus on one aspect. Either they offer better performance to reads or to writes, and not both. However, these devices, they can function as memory because they are byte addressable. They allow native load store access at very fast latency, or they can act as persistent storage medium as a cache to SSD, which is accessible via block interface. But what we instead want is a partition of this resource between these two functions, so we can effectively serve competing memory and storage needs. So we call this as functional polymorphism because the same resource can function in two ways. It can act as a memory resource or as a storage resource. So can data center operator exploit functional polymorphism? So the answer to this question is affirmative. So in this quick example, what we have in the x-axis is a percentage of NVM that is used as a write cache to SSD. Here the NVM technology is battery backed DRAM, and the y-axis is the tail latency of MySQL running PPCC. What we can see is the tail latency is minimum at an intermediate point. Like adding the resource entirely in memory or in the storage tier is not efficient, but having a partition works better. So this is one way of addressing this problem. But what if the working set size of the application it exceeds the physical capacity that we provision? Again, we first have to look at the impact of this on application. So consider even a read-only application where the working set size set it doesn't fit in DRAM. So the accesses are now served from SSDs. This impacts the tail latency of the application, which is determined by this lowest tier, which is the SSD. But by using emerging technologies like fast ASIC-based compression, we can morph the faster tier to hold more working set in memory, so we can reduce the tail latency of this application. We call this as representational polymorphism because compressed representation holds more working set but incurs higher latency than the uncompressed one, and the same resource can act as either of this in either of this mode. And what we see is in our data centers production applications, they can increase their effective capacity by 2x to 8x by using representational polymorphism, and they can achieve this at a very low latency. Like it incurs 10 microsecond and 4 microsecond for compression, decompression and compression, whereas reading and writing from SSD incurs like 80 to 100 microseconds for the same function. So compression can be beneficial than going to the SSD layer when tail latency is a consideration. So if we take a step back, we as an infrastructure provider's point of view, we have to serve diverse set of cloud application, and we can use emerging memory technologies with functional and representational polymorphism to serve these application without replacing the entire fleet of SSDs. So how do we go about solving it? So the goal of our solution is to use NVM as a cache for SSD. The cache could have a memory interface that allows load store access, or it could have a block interface and act as a write cache to the SSD. And we need to dynamically identify the fraction that we configure in either mode, because applications, they are diverse and one partition does not fit all applications. Second, we also care about tail latency, so we have to use compression to optimize for reads as well as write tail, so the application performance is balanced in that aspect as well. Again, this increases our search space in the 3 dimensions of latency, capacity and persistency. So the key idea of our solution is in order to effectively identify good partitions across these dimensions, we need to understand the most significant bottleneck in existing system, and then we have to gradually morph the cache to better meet the demands of individual application. So what is the most significant bottleneck in existing system? Consider existing system using DRAM as the memory and SSD as the storage, accessed via file system interface. Note that all the writes, persistent writes, they have to get serviced by the SSD because DRAM is non-volatile. However, only the read misses that happen in DRAM, they get serviced in SSD. And inherently, SSDs are asymmetrical in the read and write latency, especially at higher loads. For instance, at high loads, the 95th percentile read latency is much lower than write latency in one of the examples here. And what it shows is that addressing writes is the most critical thing to do in existing systems. So given a NVM-based write cache, it is better to put it in the better to transparently integrate it as a write cache to the SSD. And the thing is, as I mentioned before, having the write cache here, it is not good for read accesses because the device itself is capable of byte addressability. So we don't want to inefficiently use this device. So what we have to do is partition the resource between memory and storage function. The question is, how do we partition this resource between memory and storage function? And to do that, we need to understand the utility of this resource to the two competing memory and storage stream. For example, when we start the entire resource as a cache to SSD, we would have very low latency for write accesses. But as we gradually remove some of the resource, the latency of the writes, it's going to increase. But note that the removed resource is now going to act as a cache for reads. So the read latency is going to fall down. And what we are interested in is the point where the read and write latencies are balanced and the application reaches its peak performance. So just a linear incremental search along the x-axis is enough to identify this configuration. Again, as I mentioned, physical capacity of the resource may not be enough, so we have to use compression. Compression should be employed to tailor both read latency as well as write latency. So we need to do it in memory and storage layers. But the thing is, when we use compression, we don't have load store accesses. We typically have decompression latency in the critical path, and that's kind of symmetrical for both reads and writes. So we can have a single shared compression store, which would reduce the compute and capacity that we would need to store pages. So we use a shared compressed region in our design. So to put it together, the policy decision that the emerging memory technology based cache use is we have to address the most significant bottleneck, which is writes. So we use the cache as a write back cache to the SSD, and then we gradually morph the cache by exploiting functional polymorphism, and then we exploit representational polymorphism. Note that we have to do this as and when we schedule a new application, because in cloud we use the same set of server to serve multiple applications. In addition, we have to trigger these changes when the application undergoes phase changes. And for all the caches, we use LRU as the capacity management because it has the nice monotonic property and it works well for the benchmarks that we have analyzed in this work. So we implement PolyEMT library as by tapping into mmap and msync interface, because mmap natively provides load store access, and upon a msync we persist data to the persistent medium, which could be write cache or it could be SSD. But SSDs are not in the critical path because write cache, it absorbs the request and it persists in the background. More implementation details are in the paper. I'll quickly go through the evaluations. We evaluate it in Azure virtual machines. We evaluate it using DRAM and battery backed DRAM as the resource, backed up using SSD, and we use generic CPU based compression for representational polymorphism. We evaluate it using Redis key value store running YCSB benchmark, and we choose the configuration where the total working set size of the application is much more than the physical capacity of the infrastructure. And we evaluate 4 policies. Our baseline is using the resource entirely as a DRAM extension or as a read cache, because if we have to if we have to test it using NVM based file system, then we'll have to replace SSDs with NVMs, and for this configuration point it would not work. So we use transparent integration policies of using the device as an extension to DRAM, as a write cache to SSD, and then which is the first step in our policy, and then we add functional polymorphism, and then we add representational polymorphism to the functionally polymorphic cache. So this slide shows the throughput, the average performance of this application for the YCSB benchmark, normalized to using the resource entirely as an extension of DRAM. What we can see is, even if we do not do any of the auto tuning, if we have to use this resource, using it to the most bottleneck function, which is the write, it provides significant performance benefits. And then adding functional and representational polymorphism on top of this write cache doubles the throughput. This is for the average. We also study the impact on tail latency. So as we can see, using the resource to handle writes, it reduces tail latency by 30% and 40% for writes and reads respectively. Note that when we add functional polymorphism, we enable load store access to the resource, so this significantly reduces the tail latency for reads. It reduces by 80% in the left side of the graph, whereas it also has the impact on update latency because of the queuing effects. And then by adding representational polymorphism, we can further reduce balance the tail latency for both these competing flows. And our system is able to achieve this because it is able to carefully tune the resource along the dimensions of persistency, volatility, and compressed representation based on the needs of individual applications. So for different YCSB application, they have different needs in these 3 dimensions, and the system is able to configure it in these 3 dimensions for the application. So to conclude, cloud infrastructure, they serve diverse application, whereas existing hardware infrastructure is rigid. And in this work, we have tackled this problem for cloud storage application using emerging memory technologies by introducing functional and representational polymorphism and the policies one should consider in tuning the resource across several dimensions to meet needs for different applications. So software-defined memory and storage resource provisioning is required in the context of clouds to extract better performance from provision infrastructure. This concludes my talk, and I'm happy to take any questions.
So we don't have time for many questions. Anyone? Yes.
Hi, I'm curious, how did you pick Redis as the application?
Redis has a persistent memory interface which uses mmap and msync, so we thought it was natural to just port it to work with our existing code.
Yes.
So in your allocation of the non-qualified memory, you prioritize the write over read, right? They say the write is more expensive, but actually read is sometimes more important because it is usually on the critical path. And write, you can just write back and delay. That's not really performance critical applications.
Yeah, so it depends on the context of application that I agree. But when I talk about competing memory and storage flows, I mean competing flows that are in the critical path. So if it is not in the critical path, it would not affect the utility diagram, and you can essentially do it in the background.
Any more questions? Okay, great. Just thank the speaker again.